What is up, people? It is me, Monster58. Welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studios series Age of Extinction concept art KSI Widow. Now, for those of you who don't know, I had to do a little bit of research to understand where this character was coming from. Essentially, there was concept art of this female Decepticon KSI, well, it would be a KSI drone, right, that was made for Age of Extinction. And she was initially named Widowmaker, if I'm not mistaken, and in addition to that, her original vehicle mode was supposed to be a Pagani Huayra. You can tell here, I'll show the concept art right now. You can see on her shoulders, those are the distinctive Pagani 4 headlights. It's on the Zonda, it's on the Huayra, any version of the Huayra, any version of the Zonda, including the new Utopia as well. And so that was what her initial concept art vehicle mode was supposed to be, and then it got changed to giving it to Stinger instead, and he became like the main KSI baddie that we all know from Age of Extinction. And so what they did is one of the KSI drones, one of the vehicle modes was a McLaren MP4-12C, and so they decided to give that vehicle mode to her instead of the Pagani Huayra one, which is obviously given to Stinger. But taking a look at the box here, you can see the nice box art here: Transformers Studio Series, Transformers Age of Extinction, concept art KSI Widow, some very nice artwork here of Widow herself, as well as the McLaren MP4-12C vehicle mode, Transformers in 17 steps, more nice stuff here on the side, the Transformers, the Autobot logo, Transformers Studio Series, the Deluxe class right there. Then when we turn it here, you can see the concept art KSI Widow, some more nice artwork as she appeared on the front, Transformers Age of Extinction once again, and then your obligatory product shots on the back, Transformers in 17 steps. And so when it comes to the box, I think that is pretty solid overall. And so without further ado, folks, alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studios series, Transformers Age of Extinction, Deluxe Class Concept Art, KSI Widow, in her McLaren MP4-12C vehicle mode. This is a licensed vehicle mode, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Surprisingly, despite it being a licensed vehicle mode, the actual robot mode and everything else doesn't really compromise all too much, considering she really is a licensed vehicle mode, because especially, I think, the figure I'm thinking of and it's bringing to my mind is the recently released was it not the concept art, the Rise of the Beasts Deluxe Class Mirage from Studio Series. That was a licensed Porsche vehicle mode, and at the end of the day, the robot mode really suffered from that. Especially the transformation doesn't feel all that great in that figure. Feels pretty terrible. Actually, still doesn't feel all that great, but the vehicle mode looks fantastic. The robot mode doesn't look terrible, but it certainly looks compromised. This figure, on the other hand, really isn't. Now, this is where the car nerd's going to come out in me. This is what I love cars, right? And so, at the end of the day, for those of you who don't know, the 12C was essentially McLaren's first attempt at making a more mass-produced supercar, more than the F1 that they made previously, right? The F1, in my opinion, is still also, in my opinion, the best car that has ever been engineered in existence. But regardless, partly because of Gordon Murray, but regardless, this was their first attempt. Came out around 2012, 2013-ish, around the same time the Lamborghini Aventador replaced the Lamborghini Murcielago. And then it was succeeded by the 650S, which shared a lot of parts with this car, and then that was further succeeded by the 570, where they finally made a more drastic change, which initially I thought that this car was supposed to represent the 570S that Cogman drove in The Last Night, but then when I did some research, obviously figured out that this was just one of the KSI cars they had on set, that transformed in obviously to a KSI drone, or was meant to. But taking a look at the car, I'll tell you this much. I had a friend who drove this car because we did like this exotic car rental day thing, where we could drive them like around the street and on track and stuff like that. My friend drove this car in particular in the classic McLaren like Sunburst Orange, which is the promo color for this car. And in addition to that, a couple of weeks ago from when I'm recording this review, I was at a recent Cars and Coffee event that was not too far from where I live, and I drove right behind one of these 12Cs as I was pulling into the show. And so when I was looking at the proportions of this car and this vehicle mode, overall they did a really, really good job. It's not perfect, but it's damn close. And so take a look at it. You can see all the body lines are there. You can see where the McLaren logo is right there on the hood as well. It looks really solid. The headlights look really, really good. Doors look good. The vents are pretty accurate. The wheels are also extremely accurate. The front vents here are a little bit awkward, but they still look pretty solid overall. The front bumper where all this arrow is. In addition to that, wheels still look good. Now, someone on Reddit said that this is a spider. It's clearly not a spider. And what I mean by spider is that it is a it's a convertible. It's not. When you look at the top-down view of the coupe versus the coupe has these little rivets here, both here on the engine bay, because it's a mid-engine car. It has all of these rivets on it. If you look at the top view of the Spider does not have these rivets on it. So this is very clearly a coupe, which it very clearly was in the photo that they showed on set of the car. I just wanted to point that out because when I was doing some research. Then you can see it's really hard to see, but you can see the McLaren logo right there in full letter. And now this is the part of the car where it's a little bit thicker than it actually is. I'll tell you this much. You see where this like orange piece of plastic is above the McLaren logo? That is normally just nothing. There's nothing there. They just had to fill it in, obviously, and they used this for her heels, which is why that they have that piece of plastic there, but normally there is nothing there, and there's just the active arrow wing that pops up here, and this is a little bit thicker than it should be. Now, I get that they did this because they had to incorporate her feet and her legs into this, but I just want to point out that it's not quite one-to-one, but like I said, overall, when we're looking at this, you can tell this is a 12C if you're a car person. This is a really, really good car mode, and like I said, surprisingly, this is one of those licensed vehicle modes that doesn't really compromise the robot mode all that much, if anything, and the only thing that actually compromises the robot mode, and I'll tell you right now, is actually the QC of this figure. But overall, really solid vehicle mode, very, very happy with how this turned out. Looks really, really good. Sure, the original promo sunburst style orange, McLaren orange that this car is, especially in the show, is a bit more metallic and it's a little bit darker than this, but overall I think they nailed it for the most part. So really solid stuff. So we're gonna do our size comparison and we're gonna sit her off to the side here. Didn't bring any major other figures around here. She's an average size car bot, so you don't have to see that many comparisons. So I'm just gonna bring in Magnus here so you guys have an idea. And here she is with the Transformers Legacy United and Fernac Universe Deluxe Class Magnus. As you can see, they are very well sized with one another. Average deluxe size, these two look really, really solid in terms of their size. So overall, if you know the size of Bumblebee, the size of Mirage, the size of any of the Carbots, even the Studio Series Barricade, the Studio Series Sideways, this guy is Studio Series Sideswipe, right? All of these characters are about the same size as Widow, KSI Widow is here. Alrighty, now it's time to get into the transformation. Her transformation really isn't all that bad either. Like with Mirage, it was just terrifyingly bad. It didn't feel good. Felt like I was going to break something. And there's a couple steps here. There's one step in particular when you're transforming her back into her vehicle mode where it feels like I might crush something. But overall, it's a really whatever transformation. So first thing I like to do, come here to the doors and then you can untab the doors. So you grab it at the bottom and then you'll grab like this section and then you'll just pull out. And this will untab. Then that'll give you the clearance to sort of start to wiggle the front off. So what I like to do, if you don't have nails, this is a little bit tough. So I like to sort of reach in here and you start to just pull the front and the top of the car off like so. And then what you'll notice is that these two bits are what her accessories are. So she's got guns that store in there, which is really cool. I like to just remove those, get those out of the way. And then you can remove the doors completely, rotate them like you actually would open them in the real car. And then you can fold the chest up. Then what you're going to want to do is fold the chest, the doors and the front of the car out like this. Then what you can do is you can fold this, and what you'll see with the head is you'll untab it and fold it. There is a tab right there, and then there's a tab hole. I don't know how well you can see that black tab hole. And then you just tab that in. And then what you're going to want to do, take the arms, and then you want to push those up like so. And then you can just, whoops, let me zoom out a little bit, and we'll bring the camera up a little bit here. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, so the arms were like this before, you want to bring them up like so on both sides. Then you can fold the windows down. Then for the legs, it's very simple. Fold this in, then fold this in, and then you can just compress that all like this. Then what you're going to want to do, take these sections, pull them up and rotate them in like so. Then you can push them on these little sliders that they're on like that. Then you just fold that up fully like so. Then you can split the legs, and I like to fold these knee bits down like this. Then what you can do is you can take the heels and you can fold those out all the way like so. Then you can take the feet and then fold those out all the way like that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Concept Art KSI Widow in her robot mode. And I gotta say, guys, I'm gonna put her off to the side real quick, and we're just gonna take a look at her comparison to the concept art. In a couple of the concept art, she definitely has a lot more body definition, let's just say, in like some of the earlier ones. And then they sort of toned it down as they got further and further in development. But overall, when you're comparing it specific, especially when you're considering that she had completely different alt modes in this version than obviously in the concept art, I think they did a really good job of keeping the essence of her character there. In addition, the major thing that I'm really happy about is that they kept her face really good. So taking a look at the face, it looks really, really good. She has this very, like, she reminds me of Shatter a little bit, obviously. She has that, she has a little bit of that look, but the hair really helps, do that really well here. You can see the nice lighter silver for the top of the head, the darker silver for the face, sorry about that. The nice yellow for the eyes, the sort of very blank expression. The hair looks really, really good. Overall, she looks great. See, she's got some really nice molded in detail. Even here, right below her chest area, nice silver there, some nice molded in detail across the board. Here on the legs as well. Overall, she looks really, really good. And the other thing, too, is she cleans up really well. There's no major backpack. Now, something cool about the guns. So for the guns, if you want to store them, if you look at the inside of the doors, she actually has, on the back, she has like little tabs in there. You can just tab these right in. So you have tabs at the top of these guns, and you can just tab those in. Like so. You can fold those down. You do that here. You can tab that into the other one. We'll just do that right now. To fold that down, and look at that. Stores pretty damn well, and it's you can see him a little bit, but in all reality, really awesome robot mode storage. Very rarely do we get Transformers mode storage that's actually really good in both modes, right? Like, especially even with like Series 86 Megatron, which I just got in the mail today when I'm recording this review. Even his storage on his vehicle mode and on his back is very open. There's no like finesse with it, right? Just you kind of just plug it in and it just exists there and you can very blatantly see it. With this, it's really nice to see that. So, overall, when it comes to the details of her robot mode, she actually looks fantastic in my opinion. And for like a drone character, like a character that you would, realistically you might buy like multiples of her, she looks really, really good, and I'm really, really happy with how she looks. Now, the major issue that I do have is actually when it comes to her QC, and what I'll show you is right now, I'll just show it to you. Yeah, my ball jointed legs, the hips are really loose, and sometimes she has a problem standing up because of that, and in addition to that, sure, could I fix them by putting some door or floor polish on the ball joints to make them thicker, make them, easier and tighter? Sure. Should I have to do that as a figure collector? Absolutely not. I think we can all agree that that's the case. We shouldn't have to do that for our figures, but that is what the biggest gripe I have with this figure is. Now, the next thing is there's another one, obviously, but that'll be when we're going back to vehicle mode. But if you want to actually use the guns in her robot mode, we're going to remove them real quick. I'm going to show them to you because I was showing you how to store them. Basically, if you look at her arms, she's got little tab slots right there on her forearms, and then you have little tab slots here on the inside. What you're going to do is you're going to kind of push these in, and there you go. Push it in like that. And then you can once again come here to this arm, and then just kind of line up that tab. And then just push that in. And ladies and gentlemen, here she is with her guns. And they're very, like, sleek. Like, that's what I like about her. She's very sleek, very smooth. There's not a lot of kibble. That's, like, the best part about this figure is that she's very clean. There's nothing really about her that's in particular bad. It just really sucks that, like, the QC in her legs exists. Because if she could pose a little bit better, and the leg joints were tight. God, that sounded terrible. Leg joints were tighter, and they didn't come this loose out of the box. Then it would be perfectly a really, really solid figure. But you'll see I have to take points off. But overall, really solid looking robot mode. And so we're gonna do our simple comparison. So we're going to set her off to the side here. And here is the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Deluxe class Magnus. As you can see, she's about the same size as every car bot that you could expect. She's an average deluxe size figure. She might be a little bit smaller, but overall, she's about the same height as Bumblebee. She's about the same height as Sideswipe, same height as Barricade, same height as Sideways. Anything that you can think of, she is about the same size. So nothing really to complain about with her size, especially when you consider her vehicle mode. And by the way, what I meant by vehicle mode, very clearly characters like Bumblebee, a muscle car is much bigger than a 12C. Like, think especially when you're talking about the beater Camaro, that car was infinitely bigger than the 12C. The muscle cars, especially most muscle cars in general, are just larger than you expect them to be, especially when you're comparing them to supercars. But next thing is the articulation, and this is where she falters a little bit. So when it comes to articulation, I'm not the biggest fan of it because it's not all that great. Head is on a ball joint, but you can't really get that much movement because of how thick her shoulders are, so you can get a full 360 theoretically, but of course because of the way that she's designed, you can't really do that without risking like snapping her like hair or anything like that. Shoulders are a full 360, but they're blocked by the shoulder bits. You can go up and down a little more than 90 at the elbow. No wrist articulation or anything like that, but you have rotation here as well because there are a couple separate joints. Kick forward, you can kick back. About 90 at the knee, and then your ankle rocker pivot is just non-existent. There really isn't any because you couldn't really engineer any, and there's no waist, and that really sucks because obviously no waist articulation in the figure. Yeah, it already. Yeah, you guys have heard in my last few reviews. No waist articulation just feels really bad for posing. You just can't get as many good poses as you would enjoy. Alrighty, folks, and finally it is time for the reverse transformation. The reverse transformation, this is where it's a little more frustrating in my opinion, and in particular, there's two areas where I'm going to tell you where I get a little frustrated with this figure. For the reverse transformation, first thing I like to do is to straighten out everything, and then you can remove the guns from the from her arms. So from here, what I like to do is, sorry about the camera jiggle, I slammed my chair into the frickin' camera on my phone. But what we're going to do is we're going to sort of snap this together. Well, we're going to extend that out first, snap this together. Then what you're going to want to do is extend all of this out. This just makes it way easier. So you're going to unfold this all the way, and then you're going to start to tab everything together here like you did before. So you just kind of snap both sides in. Now, what you can do here is I'm going to wait, but you're supposed to put the guns here, but I'm going to do that wait until the end. So for the side pieces on the legs, you're going to want to flare them out, pull them out of their slider joints, then rotate them around and snap them into those tabs, or those tab holes. Then from here, you can fold these up. You can fold the neck joint out, like so. And then what you'll notice here is that there is a tab hole right there, and then there is a hole right there where her waist is, and you just fold that in like so. And then you can rotate this down like this. Then take the arms, accordion those down, and straighten them out, and then rotate them to the side so that they fit in like that. Do the same here, like this. And then you're going to want to lift them up a bit because you need some clearance for this. So you have to put the guns in those little tab slots. Well, I don't think you should have put those in. That's my bad. But you see those little two tab holes right there? Put them in like you did on the back, but this is where this gets annoying. You have to push them in pretty thoroughly because these like to get loose. I've had many moments where I've transformed this thing fully, and then as soon as I shake the car even a tiny bit, I can hear them rattling around in there. So you want to push these in as firm as you can without obviously creating stress or trying to break it. So just push them in, and you can see very easily these already come out. And that's always a frustrating part about this transformation, in my opinion, is getting these two guns to tab in without causing any major issues. So just push these back down like so. And you can see they're already getting loose here. Now for these knee pads, you're going to want to fold those in as well like this. And then you're going to want to fold the feet up like that. Then from here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to fold down this part of the car, and you can start to snap this together, but I wouldn't quite recommend it right away. Now, this is the other frustrating part besides the guns, and those are getting loose again, man. Are you... Okay, so when you get to this point, you want to try to tab these in, but don't tab them in quite the most secure. Obviously, you can, but I just like to keep them a little loose. Then what you have to do is you have to push this down. This is where it gets annoying because this area doesn't always like to clear. You can see where this area bangs up against this. So you kind of have to just not force it quite. You can lift these up a little bit to get more clearance. Then you can push that down, and then you can try and roll them back, and then push that down. Now, what you're going to want to do here is obviously roll them back, and then what I like to do is pull out the door, because the doors kind of get jammed underneath the ceiling or the roof of the car. So pull them out, and then retab them back in, and then you'll get this more flush look. So pull them out and retab them back in. Then you can take the hood, and then you can just press that into there. Then you can take the back of the car, then fold down where the muffler for the car would be. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Here we have the Transformers Studio Series Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Concept Art KSI Widow back in her McLaren MP4-12C vehicle mode. And so guys, for my final and concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Concept Art KSI Widow, this is a okay figure. It's a little bit above average. It's just the main issue I have with this is the QC. Her legs really don't feel like they shouldn't come that loose out of the box. In addition, there's a couple of other little nitpicks. Putting her guns into her storage in her vehicle mode is really annoying. In addition to that, I also think that transforming her into her vehicle mode, sometimes the clearance doesn't feel the best. And I'm not saying it feels terrible, but sometimes it does feel like you have to force things you don't necessarily want to force. And the last bit is going to be her lack of articulation. She has no ankle rocker pivot, no really way to engineer that. In addition to that, there is no waist articulation at all. And for a modern day deluxe, that is a bit of a shame. But on the good side, her vehicle mode looks fantastic. The transformation is not frustrating at all, in my opinion, going to her robot mode. And even back to her vehicle mode really isn't all that bad. I'm just counting the couple of moments where I do find myself being like, this kind of sucks. But going to her robot mode, the transformation itself is not really that hard at all. In addition, she results in a really, really good robot mode as well, with really good looking visuals and details and paint and everything like that. Her head sculpt is really good. Her visuals look really, really solid. She has a lot of molded detail across the board. In addition to that, I also think what's really cool about her is they kept the essence of her character, despite her being two completely different vehicle modes from the original concept art into her final sort of release as this figure. So that's really cool as well. And so out of a 10, I'm going to give her a 6. I would have given her an 8 or a 7 if it wasn't for the lack of articulation as well as the QC issues that I'm having, but overall I will give her just an above average score of a 6. Would I recommend this figure? Not necessarily. Would recommend her on a sale, or if you want to have more KSI drones in your Age of Extinction display, wouldn't be bad to pick up a couple of these guys, or a couple of her, or maybe just one of her overall. So that's up to you, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend her unless you're looking for those things, or you get like a sale. I think more or less she'd be worth like 15 to 20 US rather than the full 25 US. So I'd say wait for a sale if you want to pick her up overall. But that vehicle mode as a car guy definitely hits me in the soft spot. So I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store, so leave a link in the description to that. I'll also leave links down below as well to Hasbro Pulse as well as Amazon if you wish to take a look at those retailers instead of Big Bad Toy Store. In addition to that, if you guys are deciding to hunt her IRL, I assume just like Alita 1, she is also hitting stores right now, if not relatively soon. So definitely keep your eye out, and definitely the best of luck and happy hunting on that front. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Also follow me in the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, and once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.